So let us look at what we call nutritional disorders. In this presentation, we want to see the conditions that affect individuals when they take in excess nutrients, and also look at conditions that are associated with taking in less nutrients. Okay, whether it is intentional, whether it is something that happens because of a disease process, that's what we are going to discover. So we are going to look at these conditions in this presentation. Okay. So we are talking about nutritional disorders. They occur when individuals don't take in the right amount of nutrients for them to live a healthy life. So eventually you will have nutrient imbalances. Nutrient imbalances meaning that they are going to have deficiencies, or they are going to have certain nutrients in higher proportions, okay, excess nutrients. So we're going to look at three conditions: obesity, anorexia nervosa, and then bulimia nervosa. Those are the conditions we are going to look at. Obesity, it happens when you have excess fat. You have a lot of fat that makes you gain a lot of weight, so you become overweight. And it happens when you eat a lot of carbohydrates and fats. When you eat these and you compensate by exercising, then perhaps you will not be extremely obese. Okay, so this is therefore to mean that the amount of carbohydrates that you take should match your level of physical activity. But if you live a life where you don't participate in physical activity, then you need to reduce what you eat. You need to reduce the carbohydrates and the fat. Okay? But some people are not fat, or are not overweight, or are not obese just because they are eating a lot of carbohydrates. There are some factors that come into play that contribute to their obesity. Issues to do with sex. Females can become overweight, for example, when they have just given birth. Okay, you can call that postnatal weight gain. Postnatal weight gain. Okay, so that means that women who have just given birth need to really exercise and make sure that they can lose weight and not, or perhaps maintain the weight that they had, okay, before. And then we have age. Okay, age also influences body fat, and then the level of activity. Exercising, I said, is very, very key. But also, if you look at the other thing about women, is that for them they actually tend to have more fat than men because of their biological makeup. Okay, so they have fat around the hips, they have fat in the breasts, and then the thighs. So women are likely to have more fat than men. Okay. So how do we really determine whether you are overweight, or underweight, or obese? How do we determine that? We use a measure we call the body mass index. The body mass index is what we use, and it is calculated. It is a figure that we calculate for each individual. So we take their weight in kilograms, that weight you divide it by their height squared, and then you get their body mass index. Okay, so if the weight, if the body mass index, which is BMI, if it is not within this range here, as recommended by WHO, then we have an abnormality. It is either someone is underweight, that is, they have less than expected or less than normal body weight, or they are actually obese. So 18.5 to 25.4 kilograms per square meter is what we regard as the normal range. If you take your body weight in kilograms, divide it by your height squared. If your height is 1.6, then that height has to be squared. And then if your weight was 60, so it is 60 divided by 1.6. This height is in meters, so it has to be squared. So that's why the units are kilograms per meter squared. That's the body mass index. If you have a body mass index above 30, then you are likely to get some diseases which we call obesity-related disease. You have an increased chance of getting cardiovascular conditions. Okay, cardiovascular diseases that affect the heart and the circulation of your blood. Getting heart disease, getting what we call coronary heart disease, getting hypertension, and getting diabetes. These conditions, we call them obesity-related diseases. Okay, so when you have a body mass index that is greater than 30, you have an increased risk of getting obesity-related diseases that I have just mentioned. So this does not mean that obesity is a problem in adults alone. Even children can get what you call childhood obesity. So this is to say that they have excess weight for their age. Okay, excess weight for their age. So at a particular age, we expect you to be having particular weight. Okay, so if your weight at a particular age exceeds what we could expect from other children, then the child is having what we call childhood obesity. Still, the cause is the same: eating a lot of fatty foods or carbohydrates. Remember, carbohydrates can be turned into fats. So eating a lot of carbohydrates and the fats can cause obesity. Okay, so you need to note that. So if you are to prevent obesity, you don't need to eat a lot of this, especially if you don't exercise enough. This means an inactive lifestyle. It means that you're not exercising, you're not doing exercises. Sedentary lifestyle, that is when you don't exercise, sitting in the office without exercising. And then some people are likely to become obese because it has something to do with genetics. Maybe their parents were also obese, so maybe they are also likely to become obese. So what happens if you really you are obese? Of course, if an individual is obese, people will always be pointing at that person. So that reduces their confidence and self-esteem. And also they can have poor self-body image. You see, you look at yourself as a person who is extremely not looking well. So you have a poor image of yourself. Okay, so This is to say that obesity has psychological impact on you in terms of how you look at yourself, in terms of your confidence, but also in social life. There are some activities you cannot participate in because you are obese. Okay, you will have it will be very difficult for you to participate in physical activities. For example, running around, you easily get tired, you get shortness of breath, and also when you're sleeping, you tend to snore. Okay, so but all these, the worst challenges associated with obesity include getting the diseases that I mentioned earlier, getting cardiovascular diseases such as hypertension, which is high blood pressure, okay, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes, cancer, arthritis, and respiratory conditions. Okay, this is, if I can go through them. Hypertension is when you have high blood pressure, okay, and then coronary heart disease, or heart disease basically. Your heart may not be working properly. Your blood vessels may get blocked, and then you get stroke, okay, and this paralyzes your body. You don't want to get this. And then you can get diabetes, which is increased level of glucose in your blood. This weakens your immune system, so you get infections every now and then cancer. So these conditions are actually not easy to treat, including the cancers. Arthritis, your joints start to get inflammation and you get joint pains, and then respiratory conditions also can arise. Remember, snoring and shortness of breath, these are respiratory problems, and that means that you really need to lose weight. Okay, so that you are not obese. What do you need to do? Eat balanced diet, exercise regularly, avoid excess foods that contain a lot of fat. Eat carbohydrates in moderation, sugary drinks, reduce them, and also if you take calories, that is carbohydrates, that match your level of exercise, then that's okay. So we go to anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa. What are these conditions? These are two conditions. They are similar. That's why we are looking at them together. So anorexia nervosa is about someone saying, no, I don't need to eat food because I am looking fat. Okay, so they have this imagination in them that they don't need to eat food. Okay, just because they want to attain a particular body figure or particular body image. Okay, so they want to be very, very small. That's why you see this picture here. They're saying no to food, and yet they're actually very big. They're interested a lot in their weight. That's why you can see this. They love the weighing machine a lot. They don't want to gain excess weight. So they starve themselves. They don't want food, or they deny food just because they want to maintain a body, a particular body image. Okay, so they extremely fear gaining weight. That's their problem. Okay, and then bulimia nervosa is about an individual who eats food and immediately vomits it out. Okay, excessively purging. They go and vomit this food out. This is what we are saying here with purging behavior. Okay, so they eat food excessively and then go and vomit it out. Okay, so it may not be easy to notice this because they do the vomiting in hidden places. Okay, so you see someone rushing to the toilet to vomit. Okay, or if it is not vomiting, they fast excessively or do a lot of exercise, and still their worry is about making sure that they don't gain a lot of body weight. And the associated factors is that for these two conditions, people are very much interested in how they look. They want to look like, of course, what we have made to be the reference point of being beautiful. People want to look like models. Okay, so if they don't look like models, they are having psychological issues to do with low self-esteem. Okay, so they want to make sure that they really look like the models that they see in the magazines and also on TV. Okay, so that is what actually causes these issues. Okay, and others. So what will happen for people who have anorexia or bulimia nervosa? Because of the fact that they don't see themselves as having the perfect body, they will be depressed. They have low self-esteem because they think they don't meet the standards of beauty, and this mainly affects the women. And then, of course, if you don't take sufficient nutrients, you will get problems. You get problems with the heart, the electrolyte. You get electrolyte imbalance. When you talk about electrolyte imbalances, we talk about the calcium, phosphorus, sodium, potassium. These have to be maintained at particular levels. But if you don't eat food, if you vomit excessively, you have these electrolytes not being in the right proportions. Okay, so you also get dehydrated if you don't eat enough. Okay, if you excessively vomit, you lose a lot of water, so you become dehydrated. These acids, this purging, throwing back, it will distort the GIT, especially where you will have gastric content coming back. It will erode the stomach. The stomach acids will erode the GIT, and you get ulcers. Okay, so that will also happen. Anemia, and then it will affect the menstrual cycle also, including issues, for example, the GIT issues that I've explained. And then lastly, you have dry skin. This is also associated with the dehydration, not taking enough water, or even the vomiting makes you lose a lot of water. So you get dehydrated, you get electrolyte imbalance, and then you also have dry skin. So what do you need to do? Of course, this is a condition that needs to be handled by a professional. Okay, a counselor may need to be involved, or a psychologist may be involved, so that the underlying psychological issues are addressed. Having a poor image of oneself is a mental disease, a mental condition that needs to be handled by a trained health worker or mental specialists. Okay, so it is very important to look for help when someone has this disease. And then if the underlying condition is addressed, then individuals can eat normally